Tales, tunes, and tomfoolery starring Jerry Springer, along with Gene Galvin and me. I'm Megan Hills. We're recorded live in front of a brilliant studio audience at the Folk School Coffee Parlor in Ludlow, Kentucky.
My daddy came
And here
home
he is, ladies and gentlemen.
every day from there.
This is some huge stadium here.
23,000 people in front of us.
Yeah, and next year they're going to play the Super Bowl here. Speaking of the Super Bowl.
Wow. Wait.
And I honestly, I'm certainly not a Patriots fan. But I just didn't particularly care who won. Although I did win money. I won the office pool. Isn't that unfair?
Out for you, Springer.
That is, God, that's horrible.
But that was the
Megan
greatest
and I-
Super Bowl game.
And I'm
Ever.
I'm a Brady fan because I'm a Michigan fan. You know, like halfway through it, I was like, okay, we're done here.
He's
My goodness.
So Megan and I were talking before this. Megan and I come down, and then Jerry comes in this limousine with his entourage, etc. But when you got here, we heard you talking to some people about your Super Bowl party. Not that you had one, but you go to one. Some sort of snooty thing with a lot of rich people. And
How do you make the Super Bowl snooty? Jerry can do it.
Yeah.
Never mind. What am I thinking?
So didn't you go to some like big deal celebrity Super Bowl party?
This is why if there's a revolution, they're going to throw rocks at my house.
Yes.
Yeah.
I had to stop.
Remember that
by it.
scene from Zhivago, Dr. Zhivago?
About
I'm
40
dating
families
myself.
walk in and say,
Yeah.
now, we'll take this section.
Well, we flew over to Boca Raton, and where the party was, and it was very nice. I mean, it's every year there. You were there once, but then you didn't make the cut this year. No.
Regulations were tightened.
Yeah.
And they said
security.
No,
Actually
they asked me if I was going to
commented.
bring my pool boy, and I said,
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And then when we didn't stay till the end of the game because it was what 28-3 at one point or 28-9, and so this is silly because I had to drop Mickey back home in Florida, in the west coast of Florida, and then fly north to Connecticut because we had shows early Monday morning.
You did see the halftime show, though.
The halftime show was phenomenal.
Gaga was
Lady
great.
Gaga, I mean, what a talent. I mean, not just a celebrity, but a real talent. And then I just remember we were just talking. I've met her. I worked with her.
Really?
Yeah, I know you can't believe it.
I can't because I really, really respect her.
Are you?
Good one, Megan.
Thanks, Gene.
Up high.
And Donald Trump is involved in the story.
Tell us the story.
This is perfect. In 2008, I worked for Trump when I was the host of the Miss Universe pageant.
Oh, that's right.
And that year, it was in Vietnam. And each year, you know, during the finals, they always have one act, you know, one major professional act, not one of the contestants. And that year, it was Lady Gaga, and she was just kind of starting out. She wasn't yet through the roof.
Still a little Stephanie
And
Giamatti.
so, yeah, I mean, we would have meals together and all that during the course of the week. She was just a nice young lady and hoping to make it, you know, she's very smart.
Serious question. Do you, never asked you this before, but do you know her? I mean, because we ought to try to get her on the podcast sometime over the phone or whatever. Just
Yeah,
be
she
kinda
could jump
fun.
from the roof
Right.
down
Yeah.
into the
I don't think we have retractable roofs here at
Would
the
you guys
Folk
like to
School.
have Lady Gaga come in here some night?
She was pretty amazing.
The
You know what
thing is, I don't know that she knows the words to Irene Goodnight.
You know what? You may be surprised. She is a classically trained artist. You
She
may
sings
be
with Tony
very.
Bennett.
She does.
Someone I can relate to.
And actually, he adores her. Have you ever seen them interviewed together?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, they're so cute.
Yeah.
They are so cute.
That's
She
really
crushed
interesting.
it.
Yeah,
Hey,
I forgot that.
And you know, you were talking about celebrity, and when I walked in here, David Pruce, our technical producer, pulled me aside. This is not the first time this has happened.
Yeah.
We get calls onto our answering machine at the podcast office, and I don't always hear them because the office is not in my home.
Yeah. The
And-
office isn't in this world.
Our
And,
corporate office is where, Gene?
and it turns out this is not funny. This is for the first time not funny for the first time. This is for the first time.
You're the
not
only
funny.
guy that doesn't have to introduce a joke that way.
Yeah.
We just take it for granted.
Do you know who the Russians are?
Who the Russians
The
are?
Russians. The country Russia.
Yeah, I can see it.
Their president.
You can see it from my house.
Their president, Putin.
Yeah, what did he do?
What do you know? Here's the real question. Do you know Bill O'Reilly? You know Donald Trump? You know
Yes.
Lady Gaga? Do you know Bill
Yeah,
O'Reilly?
yeah.
Okay, well, apparently it's because of that association that this call came into our podcast office phone.
Ooh.
From apparently, according to David, somebody from the Russian government, somebody kind of high up.
We don't want it. That's
And I asked him if he could cue it up. You have it queued up, David?
I do.
things don't end well if you.
Well,
tick
let's
off
hear
the Russian.
what this is about, and I don't think this is a joke, and I don't think it's funny from what he says. Play it, please, David.
Hello, Mr. Jerry Springer. This is Valencia Dostoevsky, Communications Consultant General for Russian President Putin. I am calling on behalf of Mr. Putin to demand that you extract from your Fox News colleague, Mr. Bill O'Reilly, a public apology for saying our president is murderer. This is an absurd accusation with nothing to back it up. Planes fall from sky every day, especially here in Russia, and people die every day for many reasons. And who are you American people to lecture us when you have had your own Bowling Green, Kentucky massacre where 10 million people die in streets? I will be monitoring your podcast to ensure that Mr. O'Reilly has retracted his statements. And one last thing, Mr. Springer. President Putin will be coming to your country soon to meet with his friend Donald Trump, and he's asking for me to acquire two things for him. One is one of Mr. Trump's extra long ties that hang down to knee area, and two, tickets to your television show so that we might learn American culture better. With backstage VIP pass, thank you. I will be in touch for pickup, and you do not have my permission to play this message on air of your podcasting. Thank you. Have a lovely day.
She say we do not have permission?
She did.
We can't play that.
Yeah, but
Can't play it.
She said at the end that we
Yeah,
cannot
but she
play
doesn't
that.
speak English that well, so she had the translation wrong.
Clearly she thought
She meant to say, "You have my permission to play it."
I see. Okay.
And clearly she thinks
Yeah.
that your television show is a representation of American
Yeah,
culture.
isn't that
so
amazing, man?
That's
when you-
frightening.
Well,
That's
she got that right.
Well,
Who do you think our president is?
God,
Tell me
that's
it's
so
not a
true.
representative
My
of our
gosh,
culture.
Jerry Springer, you're right.
I begat Trump.
Hey, speaking of Trump, and speaking of Russians,
Yes.
we had a meeting the other day, a breakfast meeting with the
Yeah.
chairman of the Ohio Democratic
Oh,
Party,
This is really true.
David
Yeah.
Pepper. And
Oh, yeah.
David Pepper is, I mean, if you're the chairman of the Democratic Party in Ohio, you're one of the, you might be the state chairman
Yeah.
of one of 5 major
Sure.
states.
He's a player.
Turns out he's a novelist.
Really?
He wrote this book called The People's House. Talk
And
about it a little bit, Jerry.
I urge you to buy if you're at all interested in what's going on with Russia and America right now and Trump in the last election, the book's by David Pepper called The People's House. And it is
Amazon.com.
And it's
Be an
on-
easy
and
way.
.com.
I put it on my Kindle. That's one
Yeah.
way to do it. Get the paper.
And what's scary about the book, basically it's about how the Russians were behind fixing the machines, the voting machines.
Don't give it all the way away.
No, I won't.
Yeah.
In certain places, and it affected the election. The thing is, this book was written a year ago. Well, actually, probably when he was writing it, you know how long it takes to write a novel. It is scary. I'm telling you, Mickey read it first, and then, and then I read it. But she was saying, what does David know? And then the weirdest thing, when we were at breakfast, unbeknownst to us, David worked in Russia for 3 years.
Yeah.
And he had met Putin because
Really?
Putin was a low government official.
He was mayor of a city or something?
No, he was just like Catfish is. You know.
Catfish, the owner of the Folk School Coffee Parlor, city council member of Ludlow.
Vice mayor.
No,
Kentucky.
he was vice mayor of
What's it, Kiev or?
one of the Russian cities.
Moscow.
And he knew Putin. And he remembered Putin at the time.
Because he was a David, I think, was doing some journalism
Yeah,
work
he
at
was
that
doing-
point. He's a Yale Law School grad.
And what's
all
the
of
book's
that.
title again?
The People's House.
The
I'm
People's
serious.
House.
And everything that is happening now, it's like, oh my gosh. So read it. It's worthwhile.
Well, in fact,
We're not
let's
joking about
take
that.
it one step beyond.
Book club.
I'm about 70% done. It is a very, very fun read and very interesting. So I was thinking, anybody who lives in the greater Cincinnati area that's anywhere near Ludlow, Kentucky, if you email me at Jene@jerryspringer.com, Jene is with a J, Jene @jerryspringer.com, I'm going to propose we have a one-time only book club.
Love it.
Because here's the thing. David Pepper, who I talked to last night about this, said, hell yeah, I'll come down there and he'll join.
That
He'll
would be
come for
so
the
cool.
conversation.
Yeah.
And fill in all the backstory.
And anyone that's ever been in a book club, to have the author sitting there with you
It's
would
very
be
cool.
amazing.
And he'll
that's a good
sign
idea.
copies,
Let's
et
do that.
cetera.
That's a good
So
idea.
to plan this, and we'll put something up on our website, but if you just email me if you're interested, that includes people in the audience here and anybody listening, then I will establish a date out into the future. We'll lay it out there about a month so people can read the book.
Perfect.
Then I got to coordinate it with David's schedule, and boom, we'll have this conversation.
love that, Gene.
And Megan, you would do it, right?
Oh, in a
And
heartbeat.
I will have it done
Yeah.
in a few days, and
Yeah,
we're going to do that.
I just put it on my little calendar to read. Got it.
Very cool.
Just
And on
loaded it.
top of
Is the
that,
book out in big print yet?
yeah.
Can't you
Well-
have someone read it to you? Aren't you there yet? You
Yeah.
can just have.
Well, and I'm going to get you for your birthday a magnifier, one of these big things you hold,
that's
like a
great.
TV screen. You hold it in front of
Yeah.
your face when
Yeah.
you read your books. Yeah, you really could use that.
I could
Yeah.
read
Tell you what, that's going to
Look,
be a
I'm
good look
I'm
for you,
sitting on
Jerry.
Yes, it'd be a good look, Jerry.
Oh, yeah. it'll
While
go
he
along
sits
with
on
my
his
pillow.
pad.
It sure will.
Hey,
Here comes Jerry.
hey, Megan, here's one more.
Oh, Gene, what you got?
Go to, and everybody sitting, listening, go to dailyaction.org right now. Here's what this is.
Could
We
they
have
wait
on our
till after the
website
podcast?
already. Huh?
Let them wait till after the podcast. We don't want people listening to this going to it right now, and then they miss the end of the podcast. I've worked a lot
They
on
can
this.
multitask. Anyway, here's what this
Did
is.
you lose anything good there, Jerry? Anything important?
One of my jokes.
Nothing important then. We good. Move along.
There is a thing today called the resistance.
Yes.
And it's
Oh, yes.
intentionally used. You got to think of whatever. It's the resistance. So some resistance people have created dailyaction.org. There's another one that's part of the Women's March. That's
Yep.
the second one.
Yep.
The first one, part of the Women's March, is sort of bigger actions thought out into the future. Here's what dailyaction.org is. You go to that, and over on the right-hand side, you put in your phone number and your zip code. And then what will come to you are texts daily to do something. And today, the task was, we missed it by just a bit, but the task was contact your congressman and senator. I did it,
we
because I'm
did that.
part of this now.
Yeah.
So dailyaction.org, every day, acknowledging the culture in 2017, is driving to work, you take your text phone or standing on a subway, and they give you every day something to do, and it's always something you can do on your phone. It's
That's
usually
really
a phone
cool.
call. And they'll even give you the verbiage, the script. You push a button and it says it in recorded fashion. Call your congressman and say this if you want to move this message.
That's
So
awesome.
that's on our website now. Because we want to be on our website, among other things, we want to entertain and we want to be activists, don't
Yep.
we?
Exactly.
That's our nature. That's our history from several generations. Megan Hills, Jene and Jerry, same generation. Megan much
I
younger.
think people should be just get in the habit of showing up at these town meetings that
Yep.
congressmen and women and senators have. If there's one in your area and you just see a little thing in the paper, show up and let them hear. Let them hear, for example, on the Affordable Care Act and whatever your issues are. If it's a senator, voting on Supreme Court nominees, show up, because even if you're in a very, let's say, Republican district, these congressmen, they need to hear that there is another side, and they show up, and next time they may show up at the election. In other words, because right now, let's be honest, if you're in a district that votes one way, your tendency is you don't even bother.
Yep.
Let's start answering back. Put some pressure on them. Because I'm telling you, if you're in elective office, they can say, I'm not going to be persuaded. They worry. And they, in their own minds, they even exaggerate what the opposition is because they're so afraid of losing their job. So I think that's a good point.
And that's what we want to be.
Yeah.
We want to be the place where we are modern, we're on top of stuff, everything is current, and we don't forget anything. made me think of when we pulled up tonight, get out of the car, and Jerry being the celebrity that he is, or people crowd around him every time we come into Ludlow.
Both people
And I
outside
saw
were pretty
you have
persistent.
a
And one was 7
conversation.
years old.
There was an older guy, because, we're early 70s.
He was hiding in the alley.
There
going,
was a guy came over and he got into this big conversation with you, and you're talking back and forth. What the hell was that all about? I didn't quite hear it all, but he was asking you a question, and he was pointing to his ear.
I swear to God.
that
You can
guy.
turn off the mics right now. We are done. I cannot
No.
anymore.
But Megan, hold
This
on.
was-
I just wanted to ask you, what was that all about? Because he was pointing to
It
his
was
ear.
really weird. He's telling me he's got a hearing aid. He says,
I'm flipping the table over. We're finished.
he just said it was the finest hearing aid money can buy.
What did you say to that?
I said, what kind is it? And he said, 4 o'clock. Ow!
That's next time. It happens again.
Yeah. We're getting
Okay.
close to where there's not one laugh.
Okay, here's
Like
Pretty
dead
close.
sound.
Yeah.
I'm blaming
Sound like my
Deb.
desk.
She's right there. I'm looking at her. She laughed.
Here's a grandson's story. So Richard, but actually this
Oh,
was
yeah.
this was like 2 years ago or so, and he's studying the planets. He's now in the 2nd grade. Back then I think he was in kindergarten, studying the planets and, Opa, how far away is Mars, and how long would it take to get there? And I said, probably about 4 years. And he says, isn't there a shortcut?
God, that's
I don't-
as bad as mine.
Well,
I,
it was an honest.
I can't even. That wasn't even a joke.
No, he was
No.
being serious.
I know. So what?
How long does it take you to get to Mars? And I said,
You don't have to
4
repeat it.
years.
We already heard it.
So if I say it louder, it's funnier.
No.
And then he innocently said, can't they take a shortcut?
Shortcut, yeah.
Yeah.
Did the
that's-
astronauts ever think of that? No.
No, we never did that.
We're
Hey,
gonna
here's
we're gonna
another
stop this
question.
segment of the show and move right along.
What the hell's going on in the White House these days?
Womp, womp, womp.
Speaking of funny stuff.
New glasses.
This is where it gets serious, folks.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but
I'm moving back. Jerry's getting it.
okay. Admittedly, my theory, but I'm prepared to back it up as best I can. We are witnessing a coup. Now, a coup, I was hesitant to use that word, so I actually did look up the official definition, so I'm not just throwing because that excites people. But it's the seizure of the state by military or other elites within the state apparatus. So this is a non-military coup that we are now witnessing. Taking place every day, there's something else. No one thing is enough to make you go crazy. But you start adding it up, and I'm telling you, we're sitting here watching a coup. Now, let's start out with the best understanding or the best explanation for why it's happening. Let's say it's unintentional. Let's say that's not what Trump means to do, that he's just an idiot or he's just, he's not very bright when it comes to world affairs, political things. That's not anything he ever learned or, has any knowledge about. But if that's the case, if all this stuff is happening and it's really not Trump, it is all Bannon and his people, if Trump really is just the puppet, then the response to that has to be, we cannot have this guy with his finger on the nuclear button. And we all kind of shake our heads. Yeah, that's right. Of course not. I mean, really, we're talking about blowing up the world. If this doesn't excite people, if we all joke around, and even people that voted Republican voted for Trump and all that, let's be honest, even they are saying, well, maybe I like some of the things he's done, but yeah, he's a little bit crazy. He's a little bit weird. Well, as soon as you admit that he's a little bit off the charts, why in the world would you let him be the one person that can blow up the world? I mean, can't we at least as a nation get agreement on that? You want to vote for Trump next time? Go ahead and vote. That's your business. We'll argue about it. But in the meantime, can we agree that his finger should not be on the nuclear button? This is not an extreme point of view that I'm espousing here. Now, there's a United States Senator from Massachusetts, Markey. There's a United States Congressman from California, Tieu. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, T-I-E-U. They have introduced legislation that says that withdraws the power of a president to start to have first strike nuclear weapons. In other words, a president would still have the power if missiles are coming our way. You don't have time to convene Senate or anything like that. You got to give the president the power to strike back or to knock them out of the sky, whatever. So he can use nuclear weapons if literally we're being attacked. But take away the power of a president to, on his or her own, start a nuclear war, first strike, without a declaration of war from Congress. Isn't that rational? Because if we're going to start the war, you could convene. Now, it could be, you could have a private meeting of the congressional leaders. You know, I'm not saying you have it out in the open and let everyone know, but if there is something going on and the people need to know about it through their representatives, you convene a private, a secret congressional or Senate meeting in the Situation Room where everything is explained and they decide, okay, we'll give you a declaration and now we have the power to use nuclear weapons. Now, right now, there's a Republican Congress, so that's going to be difficult to pass. I am saying the whole country has to be made aware of that. I think Republicans have to be calling their congressmen and their senators and saying, pass this legislation. There is no conceivable reason why you would let one human being have the power to start a nuclear war and end the world. You can't even come up with a reason. This should be non-political, non-partisan. And I think you could get guys like McCain and some of the more responsible Republicans to say, good Lord, of course. There has to be something. You can't leave it like it is. So that's the response if you think that this coup or whatever is taking place just because Trump's not smart enough to realize what's going on and he's being manipulated by Bannon. Then the other side is more sinister, the other possibility, that this coup is, in a sense, planned. It's a long-term strategy, which we're now seeing happen not so long-term. We're now in the long-term. And what is the evidence of it? The idea of the coup is to dismantle the American government. So you say, well, what are they talking about, dismantling the American government? Let me give you some examples. First, the cabinet choices. Virtually there's probably one or two exceptions, and I won't bother to try to pick them out, but virtually all the cabinet choices by Trump are people that are either incompetent, admittedly so, know nothing about the issue, or people that as a public record have wanted to do away with the department they're now in charge of running. The guy appointed the head of the EPA, he sued him how many times? Wants to do away with those regulations. Education, DeVos, knows nothing about public education, believes that, you know, the money ought to go to charter schools, vouchers, has never, ever had anything to do with public education. She's put in charge of that. Energy, Perry, in his famous debate last time, wanted to do away with the energy department. He's now head of it. Oh, I didn't know we're supposed to, that we keep the missiles. Didn't even know about it. So he's in charge of all the people in America. He's in charge of the energy department now. Oh, did I mention he's from an oil state? Health and Human Services, Price, wants to dismantle Medicare and Medicaid as we know it now. Eliminate the Affordable Care Act immediately without even a replacement yet. Ben Carson, HUD. He goes into the incompetent column. Well, and you look, I assume he was a great brain surgeon or whatever. You could be great in one area and know nothing. He admitted. He says, I can't run a government department. I don't know anything about it. Those are his words. And now he's head of HUD, the people that really need this low-income housing. Treasury, we're going to clean the swamp. So let's get everybody we can from Goldman Sachs. Let's do away with Wall Street regulations. Wasn't that one of the orders? Commerce. Again, Goldman Sachs. So, okay, and that's just the first thing. Think about it. Every one of these cabinet appointments is someone that would result in either purposely or through incompetence having that department become ineffective or basically done away with. Every one. That's just the first issue. Next one. How the country, we all say, which is true, the country is divided. And we see now just by going out with your friends. You go to work, everybody you talk to. It's like, it's very hard to have a political conversation anymore unless it's someone that you know agrees with you. And otherwise, it's pretty tense. And I'm trying to think, the country's been divided before. It certainly was very divided in 1968. I've mentioned before that those of us who lived through all these eras, nothing will compare with what was happening to America in 1968 in our lifetime. The cities burning, 58,000 people coming back in body bags at the war, burning grab cards, everything. The whole country, assassinations, Martin Luther King, Bobby Kennedy, the riots at the Democratic Convention in Chicago. I mean, just the whole country was falling apart. But 1974, we were greatly divided with Nixon. Greatly divided until the tape came out, but greatly divided. What is the difference? Why are we more, even though it doesn't look as violent right now as it was back then in those times, what is the difference? Why, for example, am I more scared now than I was then? And it's really a worry. It's a excuse me. It's a fear. And I think this is it. And I just thought about it a day or two ago. We were watching another attack by Trump on the media. This is the difference. America has been divided in the past, obviously with the Civil War. I mean, we've been divided. But there always were two institutions that in the end could arbitrate the debate and finally have the country come to a conclusion that it would accept even if it didn't like. And those two institutions were the media and the courts. When I say the media, back in the 60s and 50s and 40s, in the early days of television, there were only 3 networks. And obviously you didn't have social media, you didn't have cable and all that. So because you only had 3 networks and you had to make sure that they got a signal so that they could broadcast, you had the FCC say, okay, CBS, you have this signal, NBC this one, ABC that one. Since there were only 3 outlets by which the whole of America, because remember, there were no national newspapers, there was only your local paper. So if you wanted to know national news, living in the 60s, for example, you had to watch the evening news, which is why people like Walter Cronkite, Huntley and Brinkley became institutions, because no one questioned, I mean, other than extreme people, but generally, no one questioned their objectivity. In fact, Cronkite would end every broadcast by saying, that's the way it is. This the 22nd of October, 19... I don't do Brinkley as well, but I do a great Cronkite. And that really was the comfort zone, because we knew Uncle Walter, no matter what was going on in the streets, he would tell it like it is and give some sense that there is an anchor in America. So, the country's falling apart with the Vietnam War. Demonstrations, riots, burning of draft cards, people running to Canada. The whole country's falling apart. And finally in I think it was 68, it could have been 67, Walter Cronkite goes to visit Vietnam, which usually didn't happen, that the news anchor left his desk. You didn't have live reports back there. So they had film, and then he would come back And he had a broadcast on the CBS Evening News one evening where he said, Vietnam is not working. The government hasn't been telling us the truth. Things are in chaos there. We're losing. It's over. Lyndon Johnson famously said, and it's on tape, so it's not a misquote, he said, the day I lost Cronkite, I lost the war. And a few months later, he stepped down and wouldn't run for re-election. Why? Because the media had such credibility that we could all scream and yell and debate issues and demonstrate everything. Divided country. But when the news said this is what's really going on, you couldn't answer back. Because the media went there to look and reported on the facts. There were no alternative facts.
Right.
And we trusted and believed, and for good reason, that the networks never were interested in one party winning over the other. They never had a morning meeting. And I can tell you, having anchored the news for 10 years in Cincinnati, God's truth, there never, ever, ever, ever was one single morning meeting where we said, what can we do to get this guy elected? Ever. Right. And anyone, unless you're literally a criminal, no one in journalism back then, and in most newspapers today, unless you're a columnist, the morning meeting is not about that. You'd be thrown out by your peers. You know, I mean, there's like a code of honor that if you're a journalist, that's the first thing you learn. You don't do that. Now, the newspapers or the media is always against who's in office, against in terms of acting as the fourth estate, challenging what the government is saying. Okay, so that's the one arbiter. Now look what Donald Trump is doing. He is day by day, through the campaign and since, pointing them out at rallies in the back there. Look at that dishonest media. Look at those crooked reporters. Megyn Kelly, she's bleeding from you-know-where. I mean, it's just unbelievable. The constant bashing of the media, of anyone that hopefully will be objective. And we now live in a climate where the cable news has to pick one side or the other, and CNN, which in fairness tried to be in the middle, gets destroyed probably now more than anybody. He's trying. The New York Times, they're all crooks, worst paper ever. Really? Really? Is there one journalist in America that if they could get a job in the New York Times wouldn't say, hey, Mom, I just got a job at the Times. This is great. So they're beating up with Bannon, who was head of Breitbart News. They are working hard to do away with mainstream media. That's one of the institutions that keeps America focused. And what's the other one? The courts. 1974, country divided over Richard Nixon. And it looked like, who's going to stop Nixon? He's not giving up the tapes. And really, if you were living at that time, it really looked like we have a real constitutional crisis. But even Richard Nixon understood that once the court says, hand over those tapes, and then we heard him, game over. The courts withstood the attempt of the divisive America to fall apart. So there you have it. It's hard to refute. I mean, the stuff I was saying, it's not just an opinion. I'm just trying to bring in all the information that all of us have. I haven't told you anything that you didn't already know. It's when we put it all together, oh my gosh, is this thing really being planned? It's just too weird. Every cabinet official, and then you go after the only two institutions left that can stop the dismantling of our government. And they're trying to destroy that. There's only one question left then. If this is a coup, if this is intentional, what role did the Russians play? And why would the Russians want us dismantled? Yeah. The Russians are never going to invade America, okay? That's bad movies. They're not going to invade. What would they do when they got here? They don't even speak English. So they're not coming over. What they would like to do, it is in Russia's interest, to have democracy and America delegitimized.
Yep.
So that because we are the last stand for the rest of the world stopping Russian expansion. And so we suddenly have Trump saying, let's not support NATO. We suddenly have Trump this weekend saying that when O'Reilly says, as you mentioned earlier, do you respect Putin? And Trump says, oh, yeah, I respect him. And O'Reilly, to his credit, said, he's a killer. He murders the opposition, even recently. And Trump, defending America, God bless him, well, we kill people too.
Yeah.
You know, it's like he's so in bed with Russia. And because if we can get America not to back NATO, not to back the Ukraine, this week now Russian troops forming in Belarus on the border, making up a story that Poland's invading Belarus. You know how World War II started? On September 1st, 1939, Hitler got some Nazi soldiers to dress in Polish uniforms and come across the border to make it look like Poland was attacking Germany. And he then said, we're being attacked, we're going into Poland. That started World War II. And now what you got is Russians making up this story that Poland is going to invade Belarus. Really? All these things are happening. We're not making this up. So if Russia is behind this, and we see all the things, how all the intelligence agencies said they were involved in our election, in the leaks. People now that apparently gave this information are being found dead in the Moscow River or in front of the Kremlin or whatever. They're suddenly being hauled off and killed. Russia obviously liking Trump. Trump always defending and doing every position that Russia wants. Trump takes that position. So we have to now find out, because the best thing that could happen is that what I'm saying is totally wrong. And the way you find that out is, number one, you make sure the Republicans go through with a full-throated, nonpartisan commission investigation of Trump and the election and the release of the tax returns. Now, why do I say the tax returns? It's not a matter of gotcha. Gee, you weren't as wealthy as you said you were. You didn't pay all your taxes. No. The reason you want to see the tax returns is because you want to see what deals he's made, where his money came from. Because there is a school of thought. Why is Trump, of all people, so pro-Russia? Do they have something on him? Are there tapes? Are there videos? Are there... When we're having breakfast with David Pepper, and we were talking about his book when he was in Russia, he reiterated what even Trump says. During the years of the Soviet Union, and even now, you go to Russia, if you're a businessman, you don't think they're taping your phone calls, they're hidden cameras, they know exactly who you've been with, who you're having dinner with, who you're in your room with. That's how they operate. That's not new. That's how they operate. That's blackmail. What do they have on Donald Trump that makes him suddenly so pro-Russia when it wasn't even a campaign issue? No one was questioning him on it. He's just suddenly become this rah-rah and quit saying bad things about Putin. He has never said anything bad about Putin. He says a hell of a lot of bad things about Hillary Clinton. So that's the pitch. I think our government is being dismantled. Now, is this the end? Does it mean they will ultimately be totally successful? Hopefully not. We're going to fight back. But you would have a hard time making anyone believe, in light of all this evidence, that our institutions are not now being destroyed from within. America, if America gets defeated, it will be from within, not from anyone coming over from overseas.
Good stuff. We're bringing in the young Heirlooms, our musical performers for the evening, and as they're setting up, let me tell you a little bit about them.
It's a lot
There's
of them.
6 members. There are a lot of folks coming in.
Whoa.
Chris, Laura, Kyle, Kelly, Charles, Stephen.
Do all of you have papers?
Oh, that's,
Yeah.
that's our whole audience.
We got
that's who they were.
singers, guitarists, mandolin,
We could
stand-up
have a huge
bass,
crowd if we-
a drummer.
We could have a huge crowd if next week we invite the Mormon Tabernacle Choir.
Right?
Right.
12-piece orchestras from now on. This is
Welcome, guys.
awesome.
Good to see you.
Hey, thanks a lot for doing this. Seriously.
Start us off with a song. Here we go, the young Heirlooms.
I don't wanna close my eyes 'cause I don't wanna sleep tonight. When I dream along the ride, I can't control how much I love you. Darling, don't you hold me dear. I know how you can disappear. I guess I'll say it all right here. I can't control how much I love you. Darling, you are far from me. Stay right where you think you ought to be. That is all it isn't hard to see. That you were never truly dear to me. Well, have you about had enough? Let's cut out all the pretty stuff. If you think you're bold enough, do what you came here to do. Looks like I'll be rolling on in with the setting of the sun. It always brings another dawn. You got nothing left to say to you. Darling, you are far from me. Stay right where you think you ought to be. That is all it isn't hard to see. That you were never truly dear to me. What can I say to draw the line? How can I ever get back what was mine? Darling, you are far from me. Stay right where you think you ought to be. That is all it isn't hard to see. Hard to to
Wow.
Well, you guys are really
That was
good.
fantastic.
That was very
Great
entertaining.
part. Gorgeous.
That's Chris, Laura, Kyle, Kelly, Charles, and Stephen, and it's the Young Heirlooms. And by the way, you can get their music at youngheirlooms.com. You have recorded an album that's being mastered as we speak, correct?
Correct. We
And-
recorded at Audio Grotto over in Newport, Kentucky.
Okay. So you have roots in the what we call the tri-state area, Greater Cincinnati?
For the most part, we
Yeah.
are a group of 6, but I'd say over half from this area.
Okay.
Ms. Laura Bach hails from Memphis, Tennessee.
All right.
And Mr. Kyle Elkins has lived in Colorado but grew up in Michigan.
Okay.
But
And
everyone else is from around here.
tell us a little bit about the group. How long have you been together? And
Sure. Well, my name's Kelly for all our listeners, and Chris and I have started this. We started this group 7 years ago now, which makes me feel old. And old heirlooms. And Kyle, our bass player, joined us. I'd say about 2 to 3 years in the journey. And we've had some rotating members, but for the last 2 years, we're happy to say this is our official lineup.
well, it's really cool, really good
Very
sound. And your second song is "Bury Me with My Hammer," right?
Yes.
Do that for us if you would.
Absolutely. This song has
Young
become
Heirlooms.
our anthem. It's about accepting what you find your life's calling to be, which we've decided is this. So
Nice.
we're going to be doing this till we're buried with our hammers.
Oh,
Love
nice.
it.
Thank
You
you.
gonna take the mandolin too?
Not on this number.
We're going to ask you not to talk anymore, Jerry. Your portion is done.
Here we go.
I sit by the water, brushing next to me. I can feel my heartbeat, quicken with the stream. I don't have to tell you, plain enough to see. It's written in the water. Doesn't frighten me. I can feel our eyes meet when I turn to gold. It gazes in the tree line, following me home.
joke. A serious. How does this start? I mean, you're all so good and so creative. So, who started the group, for example?
We did.
Okay, so you. I'm sorry. So you. Now you write your own songs.
Correct.
And who does most of the writing? Or you both do equal writing?
Yes.
Okay, so you do the writing, and then because you have harmonies and
Sure. There are a lot of stages and there are a lot of
Yeah.
steps in in that process and in that development of the song. So it starts with an idea, a skeleton of an idea, a melody,
Yeah.
a lick, something, even a lyrical note, like a lyrical comment.
oh, so it's not always the same. It's not
It's
always.
not always the same.
You don't
It's-
always write the words and then let's get attuned to this. It's-
Correct.
Okay.
But one thing that is rather consistent is we'll come up with the basic idea, and then we'll kind of separate the time with doing vocal sectionals and doing full band rehearsals and small
What you can
ensembles.
layer
will
in
meet.
on
Yeah,
it.
because it's a lot to work out
Yeah.
a vocal harmony when you have 6 people held captive.
Oh, sure. So it's not. Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
just one person sitting in the room and writing
Right.
the tune and
Strumming it
doing
out,
that.
yeah.
And last question on that is this how you make your living, or do you? I know a lot of, for example, band, not the kind of music you play, but bands. You know, they play at night, various clubs, but during the day they're selling insurance or doing whatever.
It is our goal and ambition for 2017 to make this our full-time living. However,
And she's going into politics. That was brilliant.
allow me to field all your questions. No, yes, we are all quasi-gainfully employed. No, not gainfully employed.
No,
we are working. We're
Yeah, I
a
don't
working
have a-
band, and we're
Yeah.
we all have day jobs of sorts. Some have evening jobs.
Sure.
We're piecing it together, but it's our goal to.
This is wonderful. I mean, there's no punchline here. I'm not making
So
any
glad
joke.
you
I
like
really
it.
respect what you do. It's
Yeah, thank
incredible.
you.
Are you
Good for
trained musicians, all of you, or are you? Some classical
more or less,
backgrounds?
Some
or-
self-taught, some official.
He went to
This young man has his master's in classical bass performance.
Oh, interesting.
And we tricked him into doing this instead of going to work for an orchestra.
This is so much cooler. I love the orchestra, but this is so much cooler.
We
Well,
think he likes it.
take us out on Irene Goodnight, would you? And Jerry will
yes.
Just
jump in on
talk among
verse.
yourselves. I'm going to blow my nose.
It's pretty sexy, isn't it?
Oh, yes. You can
is
follow
my
us
instrument.
online at on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram at Young Heirlooms, and our website, of course, youngheirlooms.com.
Awesome.
Okay.
Last Saturday night, I got married. Me and my wife settled down. Now me and my wife are parted. I'm gonna take another stroll downtown.
Good night. Good night. Good night.
I'll see you in my dreams.
Sometimes I live in the country, and sometimes I live in town. Oh, sometimes I take a great notion to jump in the river and drown. Irene, good night. Irene, good night. Good night, Irene. You all come back now, you hear?